Good morning, good morning. Just like college game day, we are here on the road, or maybe it's just me today. I don't really know. But welcome in to week 12, the Tailgate, brought to you by campus.com. There are a bunch of faces on here that I'm going to be honest, I did not realize were going to be on here. I don't think Matt knew either, judging by the message he just left for everybody in the chat. But it's great to see so many smiling faces. We're really bringing it for semifinal week here, guys. Right? How are we doing today? Felix, you've got a look on your face like you're just ready for the day.
I'm unemployed.
Even better. All right, Brandon, over to you. Everybody looks very smiley today. This might be the most awake we've been. I think the extra hour helped all of us. I really think that. Well, regardless, guys, you know the deal here. We are ready to get you ready for all things college football today. Our first hour today going to help you with your CFF lineup. Second hour, DFS, betting, all of that good stuff. Let's talk about some games that already happened, though, guys, because some people might have woken up this morning and already been very happy or very upset with their scores. We had some MACtion all week. Chris, I'm just going to come right to you. You're the go-to guy for Bryant Koback.
Is that a Bryant Koback jersey, by the way? It looks like one.
Muted
it's
Chris
Jameer Gibbs.
Almost. They're basically the same player, right?
I would say Gibbs a discount Bryant Koback, but yeah.
I mean, his performance, Chris. I mean, another big one here through the playoffs, 21 carries, 203 yards. 4 touchdowns. You're feeling pretty good if you started him this week, right?
Of course. I mean, I don't know what more you can say about him at this point. Like, he's just tearing up the MACtion schedule. He was pretty good in the non-MACtion schedule. Like, I still think he's an NFL back, even if he's he's probably a day 3 guy. Let's be honest. But I mean, I still think he's a guy that's going to get drafted. I expect him to be a player.
Had some good games against good opposition here over the past few years as well. I mean, they played Notre Dame this year, and he didn't look out of place. And they're supposed to be a good defense year in, year out. So I guess, okay, no one got that excited about that Bryant Koback stat line. What about Lou Nichols? Can I sell you on some Lou Nichols here, guys? 32 carries, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns. Fantasy MVP for the playoffs here, right, guys? I mean, Colin, just the stretch run that he's having right now is crazy.
Yeah, this is insane. If you've had him for like the past 6 weeks, where he's gone for no less than 160 all-purpose yards in every single week, and multiple touchdowns each week, I mean, you're riding him into your championship right now. I would be surprised. The rest of your team would have to be subpar for him to not have carried you pretty far here. And then 219 yards, 3 touchdowns this week, another really solid week. I mean, he's a sweet summer child of yours.
And for campus to camp leagues, I think Lou Nichols is not just a fantasy darling. He is headed towards getting day 2 draft capital. He has the requisite size. He's obviously a workhorse. Now, he might share time when Kobe Lewis comes back next year. But if I have Lou Nichols, he's not someone I'm at all like trading at the end of a regular season next year if I'm not making the playoffs and trying to get draft picks for. I mean, I think you guys would agree that he is someone who could get day 2 draft capital, be drafted in the 3rd round, and potentially be an NFL work. I mean, I don't think that that's a hyperbole to say that he could be a workhorse at the next level too.
He's draft eligible this year. So like we assume he's not coming out, right? Like this is his 3rd year.
He's also listed as a redshirt freshman on their website for whatever that's worth. So
his first,
this is his 3rd year?
Yes.
Yeah. His first year is 2019. So you would think if he's getting day 2 capital that someone in his ear on the committee saying, hey, like you're going day 2, you're probably not getting higher than that at any point, especially if Kobe Lewis comes back. Kobe, whatever his name is, comes back. Yeah, there we go. I mean, I really like him. I have a lot of Lou Nichols, but I don't know if he's a day 2 guy. I think he's like an early round 4 guy who is like a 1B, like a productive 1B in a committee, maybe. I think he's an NFL player too. I just don't know if he's going day 2.
Yeah,
well, Felix won't say it. I will. Detroit, Michigan, stand up.
Mount Pleasant, stand up.
Yeah, Colin. Geez, get your Detroit suburbs together, you idiot.
Sorry,
I don't know where
Detroit,
Lou Nichols
Michigan
is from, but I'm saying where Central Michigan is.
okay.
I didn't know where Kobe Lewis was from.
Yeah,
I have his birth certificate pulled up here. It says Detroit, Michigan.
Gotcha.
Shoot me over his social in the chat, Colin, and we can move on from there. All right, guys. Maybe the best stat line so far. You got a quarterback performance and a running back performance all in one on Thursday night when Malik Cunningham showed up against Duke. Malik Cunningham versus the world, guys. 18 for 25 passing, 303 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. But wait, there's more. 11 carries, 224 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In most formats, he got you at least 65 points. I've heard as high as 70 or 80, depending on kind of scoring format there. Bonus points awarded for yardage, maybe. I have him in a league, and I feel like I'm already through. I mean, Brandon, have you? How are you feeling about Malik Cunningham? Did you come up against that buzzsaw at all?
No, luckily I did not come up against him. I don't have him anywhere, so I could just enjoy his performance without it killing my teams or anything. But I did start Jalen Mitchell somewhere. He did get a touchdown, but I wish Cunningham could have given him some of those rushing yards.
He was not sharing at all.
No, not at all.
He was not in the mood for that. Somebody posted that he, in basically 3/4 of football, basically did what Tim Boyle did in his entire final 3 seasons of college, or final 15 games or something. So good luck this weekend to Felix's Detroit Lions. Matt, does Malik Cunningham have potential beyond college? I mean, real potential. I mean, I think he's going to probably get some sort of opportunity around the NFL. But I mean, are you buying kind of this slightly growing narrative that there's something there for the future?
No, because I mean, if we're not going to believe in Desmond Ridder getting second round draft capital and being anything, then no, I don't think Malik Cunningham will be there. I mean, I think he can land in the league and be a backup quarterback because of what he can do with his legs. But I don't know that he's that accurate of a passer. I think I'd actually take Ridder passing wise over Cunningham, but I'd definitely take Cunningham's leg and athletic ability over Ridder. So I don't think that he'd be much of anything but a backup in the NFL.
Backup quarterbacks matter though, right? So I mean, that could be, intriguing there.
They really do. They really, really do.
It's the most absurd
look at Tim
argument.
Boyle.
The most absurd argument that Matt's ever made.
And you guys fought over if you'd rather have $1 million or like we're not going to get into that
$500,000.
All right, all right, Felix is muted. We're gonna move on here before we rehash that. All right, guys. There were a couple games last night. Max Borghi had a big night. If you have him and started him, I believe we told you to on Campus Life this week. You're probably sitting pretty there. Some other decent performances in that game, but nothing necessarily to write home about. So let's talk about today. Let's talk about getting you guys set up for your games today. Let's start with some prize picks, guys. If you have not yet signed up for prize picks, guys, lucky for you, we are running a contest here, a giveaway at campuscanton.com. If you sign up at prize picks, use promo code C2C, you get all of the things you usually get. You get an initial deposit match up to $100. You get a free year-long membership here with us as long as you deposit at least $20. And brand spanking new to things here, guys, you will be entered to win a signed Alabama Jerry Jeudy jersey. Is on its way to my house as we speak. Should be there early next week. I will take lots of pictures and send them out just to confirm we have it. But we will be giving that away. So sign up, get over there, get on the list, and let us know that you did it. And then come win some money with us. So let's talk. And again, guys, we talk about these player props. They are surrogates for start sit. If you are paying attention here, we're saying a guy's going to pass for over 340 yards. That might be a sign that you should probably go plop that guy into your CFF lineup. Conversely, if we're saying under 60 yards rushing, maybe that guy's staying on your bench. So even if you're not doing prize picks, I think some of this stuff is very, very important here for you. We are going to go to Brandon first. We always start with quarterback plays. Brandon, what do you like this week on the slate?
Sure. The first one I'm just going to mention because I think Chris has it, and I'll let him talk more in depth about it. But I have Phil Jerkovich His line is 227.5 passing yards versus FSU. I'm going to go with the over, but like I said, I'll let Chris talk more in depth about that. The next one I have is DJU. His line was 187.5, but I believe per the notes it's moved to 197.5, and I'm still going to take the over. Just based on Wake Forest's defense is just so horrible, and DJU has rebounded a little bit the past few games, getting around that 200 and a little bit over. So I'm going DJU over on
so
that.
Brandon, can I just ask you real quick? I'm sorry to cut it off in the middle there. If he does not have a passable performance today, is that like one of the final nails in the DJU value column for like the any sort of foreseeable future?
Yes, it is. Because I was just going to say, if Clemson cannot have a good offensive performance today, I mean, this is one of their best matchups they're going to get, and because we've seen Wake Forest's defense is just horrible against the run, against the pass. They gave up.
Army gashed them.
I know. So you think, and they're at home. You'd think that they. I mean, he has to. I mean, if he doesn't, then yeah, the value is dropping even lower than we thought.
Yeah. That's okay. Continue on. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask.
No, that was a good point. And then the last one for me is Sam Hartman. He has 0.5 interception versus Clemson, so he just needs to throw one. I'm doing the over on that. He has 5 interceptions in the last 2 games. As good as he's been, for C2C teams. Scoring a lot of points. He tends to throw a couple bad passes a game, and with that Clemson good defense, I'm going to over there.
All right, Chris, let's go over to you here. I think you've got the Phil Jerkovic line as well that you kind of like, but beyond that, what else is looking good to you?
Yeah, I think Matt Corral hits 289.5 passing yards this week. They get Vanderbilt, and I don't think he really wants to be running. And so I think that's their preferred method of scoring, basically. He's still beat up a little bit. And this pass defense, I mean, Vanderbilt's whole defense is terrible, but the pass defense ranks bottom 20 in success rate, in explosive plays allowed, in defensive EPA. So I think that Corral cruises to this number, basically. Even though he actually hasn't been as productive as people might think in terms of his passing statistics this year, I think this is like a kind of a pseudo get-right game.
I don't remember if anybody has him for their start sit, Chris, but you're taking the over on that passing yardage. Does that mean he's a startable play today?
I think so.
Just regardless.
Yeah, he gets Vanderbilt. It's hard pressed to sit him because he can go for like 305 in like the first half.
Yeah.
And John, ever since that game where he just decided he wasn't going to slide it all and just kept getting beat up, he's been terrible. Rushing especially. So I'm looking at like a Liberty type game where he threw for like 324 and won, and he only ran like 6 times. Like that's what I think is in terms of like yardage wise. I think he could throw more touchdowns though.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm starting him. I think you have to.
It feels weird not doing it, right? He's gotten you this far.
Do you want to lose with Matt Corral on your bench?
That's the Josh Downs play today as well.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you can stomach that.
Go ahead. I mean, you like Phil Jerkovic as well, right? So
yeah, I do. It's a really good matchup. Florida State ranks 89th in explosive pass rate allowed, and they're only allowing 225 yards per game, but that's more of a structure of the way that they've the teams that they've played against and the game scripts they've had. I think this is an easy line for Jerkovic to hit. He's been really good. Like he struggled his first game, but last week he was on fire. So I like him. I think that's actually a really low number, 227. I think he can I don't know. I think he's going to probably end up like 260, 270.
Gotcha. Yeah, that does seem a little low there. Matt, do we want to come to you or do you want me to go to Felix there?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay. What do you like today at quarterback? Maybe some Buckeye magic?
CJ Stroud over 327.5. I know that seems like a lot, excuse me, but I don't know that Henderson's going to be able to run as effectively on Michigan State today. I talked a little bit about it on Twitter yesterday. the Buckeyes, up until that game last week against Purdue, have struggled when they get in the red zone to score. They've been putting up a lot of field goals, but they do a really good job of scoring almost anywhere else on the field, and I think that is where Michigan State is vulnerable, is through the pass. We saw what Aiden O'Connell and Purdue was able to do against them. Me and Moxley were talking a little bit about this in our Discord the other day. I actually think Kenneth Walker is going to be able to have some success today against the Buckeyes defense and going to keep the game close, and the Buckeyes are going to score through the air, so I think C.J. Stroud goes over. Then I'm sticking with my guy Desmond Ridder here. We're going to talk about this game in game picks as well. I think this is going to be a really good game, and I don't know that Ritter's going to be able to do everything with his arm, especially with his as offensively potent and passing as Tanner Mordecai has been in SMU's offense, and I think Ritter's going to have to run a little bit, so I'm taking the over on his rushing yards of 24.5.
That's pretty low. I mean, that
Yeah.
could be 2 carries right there, realistically. So he's not the Malik Cunningham. It's going to bust for 70 usually, but yeah, that I might have to go play that real quick. Colin, we'll let you go next here. Your Darty party for you today.
Yes, sir. Darty party for me. I'm going over 252.5 pass yards in the only full start he's had all year. He threw for 391. And USC has only failed to throw for over 250 yards, 252.5 yards twice this year as a collective team. One of those was last week against Arizona State, but that's a tough defense. Just the volume's going to be there. As long as they're not yo-yoing him in and out, which it sounds like they won't be, I think this is an easy hit for Jackson Dart. And then my next one is KJ Jefferson over 20.5 rush yards. There's only been 3 games where he has not gone over that. The first one was against Georgia Southern. Really didn't need him to do that. They pretty much pulled everybody at halftime in that one. The other one was against Georgia. Enough said there. So he's routinely getting over 20.5 yards, and Alabama is susceptible to the running quarterback like we've seen multiple times throughout the year. That's kind of like their one bugaboo under Saban. We'll pick the game later, but I feel pretty good about KJ Jefferson's stat line for the rush yards here.
Yeah, that does seem a little bit low there as well. Maybe I'll go play my KJ Jefferson, Desmond Ridder rushing special here. I'm on a hot streak on Prize Picks. I'm feeling myself a little bit. Felix, what do you like today at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Colin. We should go ahead and stack KJ Jefferson and Jackson Dart Prize Pick props because KJ Jefferson is over under 16.5 fantasy points. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. KJ Jefferson is a rusher. He could very easily rush for 2 TDs in this game, and there you go. He is second on the team with 5 rushing touchdowns, and then obviously he can throw one through the air. So I think that's I like targeting KJ Jefferson. I like targeting Jackson Dart, who's over under on fantasy points is 19.5. UCLA is 76 in total defense, 113 in passing yards, 113 out of 130 teams. So I mean, I agree that let's take Jackson Dart. Let's take KJ Jefferson Dart, who's one of the more aggressive freshman passers that I've seen in some time. I think that he is going to easily go over 19.5.
It's always nice when Felix and I agree.
Yeah, you don't get the respect you deserve on this show, Colin. I'm just going to say that.
Thank you. That means a lot.
All right, and this is Felix's last appearance here on the Tailgate, guys. So bid him adieu. No, and then do you like Casey Thompson as well today, Felix?
I do. I mean, Casey Thompson's over/under is 21 points against West Virginia. He has been taking the majority of the starting reps. I mean, they get Hudson Card to drive here or there, but that offense has been playing well. And if he's going to play 90% of the snaps, I think he's going to have over 21 fantasy points against West Virginia today.
Really quick on Casey Thompson, Sarkisian came out today and said that they will not be swapping drives anymore. It is all Casey Thompson, just so you guys know. That
Casey Thompson. Oh, Casey Thompson.
That's really interesting. I actually still really don't know if he gets to 21 even without that. But
I mean, with Bijan out, they're going to have to lean on somebody.
Yeah, it's not Roshan Johnson. They're going to be throwing the ball to Xavier Worthy, and that's what's Jordan Whittington. Jordan Whittington's out.
Or
They're
Texas
gonna be throwing
just
to
sucks
somebody.
altogether and they don't put up any points because Bijan's out.
It's not
let's
like
not
they
forget
have
that
to
part of
have
the
400
spectrum.
yards of offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can just do
They
nothing.
can also just suck.
All right, we'll see.
We just like to give Felix crap. And the only quarterback play, I had some that I liked the past couple nights. Not a lot today, but I am taking the TJ Finley under. He is at 182.5 pass yards. That just seems extremely high. And to be honest, I don't think that they're gonna try to run it as much as they possibly can. I think they're gonna try to keep it out of TJ Finley's hands when it comes to passing. 182.5 seems high there. And so any of the other passing options there. So like Kobe Hudson has a decent, like a 50-yard line. I might take the under on that. I mean, just all of those Auburn passing game items today. I am probably out on running backs. Brandon, we'll come over to you here. What do you like today?
Yeah, so running back wise, as Matt was saying about Kenneth Walker, his line is 99.5. I'm going the over. 5 out of the last 6 games, he's been over 100 yards, and Michigan State really likes to use him. And he had a very big game against Michigan, who has a better defense, at least watching and statistically. So I have the over for Kenneth Walker. I think he'll be able to run the ball there. And then I'm going with Hassan Haskins again against Maryland. It looks like Blake Corum's out again. And last week against Penn State, they didn't really use Donovan Edwards that much. And I see him getting that over 104.5 rushing yards because Michigan just does not like to pass the ball very much, and they'll just force feed him the ball. And then the last one I have is Dameon Pierce over against Missouri at 59.5. Florida just does not give him the ball enough, but when they have the 2 out of the last 3 games, he's had over 60 rushing yards. So I have the over for Dameon Pierce at 59.5.
All right, Chris, you have Dameon Pierce as well, I believe. But what else do you like beyond him?
Brandon and I are in lockstep this week.
You guys
I like Will Shipley to go over 74.5. So he wasn't hurt last week. They basically just said, we're playing UConn. We don't need Will Shipley. Like, that's kind of wild considering you're Clemson and you can't do anything on offense. But alas, I like Will Shipley to go over 74.5. Wake's defense is terrible, but they're especially bad against the rush. They rank 115th in rushing success rate on D. I think this is actually where Clemson can score some points, and I think a lot of that's going to come in the rushing game. I expect Shipley to operate, at least 15 carries. 12 to 15, I think, gets him there because just how bad this rushing defense is. We just saw it get carved up the last couple weeks by NC State and by the Tide Chandler special. I also like, what else do I like? Chris Rodriguez to go over 109.5. This is a great matchup for Kentucky. They get New Mexico. Rodriguez is the feature back there. I don't really have any concerns about him hitting this number because I think he can do it in like 15, 20 carries. Again, I just think he's going to be really efficient. So even if they get up and they want to play some of their other backs, I don't think that's really a concern. I think Rodriguez is somebody who can hit this number in the first half. And then, my last one was Dameon Pierce, but it's just a good matchup. Like, we know how bad Missouri is. They've actually been better in recent weeks, to be totally honest. Like, they shut down South Carolina and they shut down Georgia in rushing games, but they're still really bad. So I agree with Brandon.
Maybe they figured it out. They're
not the worst rushing defense in the country anymore. That is Arkansas State.
Look at them go. Matt, you like Chris Rodriguez today too?
Yeah, and I'll say that them shutting down South Carolina is not really a big thing, but I will say, okay, Georgia, I'll give you props on that. I'm just giving you shit. Chris Rodriguez, I think I'm with Moxley on what he was talking about. So I think he easily gets at least a touchdown today. Right now, his rushing touchdown prop is 0.5. I think he easily gets that, goes over. I agree with a lot of the ones that Chris and Brandon already talked about with Kenneth Walker and Dameon Pierce. So that's the only one that I have to add into this morning.
Yeah, betting on the touchdown there seems pretty solid if they're going to score, 49 or whatever. He did not score last week, so it's one of those, that's got to correct itself here. Even though he got quite nice volume and they scored a lot last week. Colin, what do you like this week?
First one I have here is Kai Thomas over 85.5 rush yards. Last week, he didn't become the lead back there. He's more like the 1A, and Irving is still the 1B, but he did have 29 carries to Irving's 17. He went over 100 yards last week as well against Iowa, who is a much better defense than Indiana this week. So if Kai Thomas can keep that workload going, I think he hits over 85.5 pass or rush yards pretty easily here. There's only been one time in the past 3 weeks that he hasn't hit it since he's really taken on a larger role. So I think that one's a pretty easy one for me. And then my other one is Travion Henderson over 19 fantasy points. I think Matt brought up some good points about what Michigan State is definitely more susceptible through the air than on the ground. But Travion Henderson brings a lot through the air as well. He's a great pass catcher. Since the Oregon game where he really started to take over the backfield here, there's only been 2 games where he has not hit over 19 fantasy points. And he also has games in there of 46, 36, 28. So I feel pretty good about him going over the 19, even if he does have to do most of it through the air.
Which let me add really quick, which I think matters for most fantasy things before you go to Felix. You get points for if they return a kickoff touchdown and stuff like that, right? In most fantasy leagues, there's a realistic shot that Travion Henderson's
leagues, yes.
returning kicks today. Emeka Buka is out. Travion Henderson is likely going to be returning punts and kicks, so there is a shot of that as well.
Why would they do that?
Just found out.
Sorry.
He was returning kicks earlier this year too. Because
and then he became the bell cow.
Saban does it. But Mine Williams is back and he's been healthy. They've been using him a lot more. I'm just saying.
Saquon Barkley did it as a junior. If Saquon Barkley can do it as a junior, then Travion Henderson can do it as a freshman. So
it just seems so risky.
They really only used Saquon to do that though when they needed a big play.
They're playing Michigan State. It's the number 7 team in the country. They're fighting for a playoff spot. They need a big play.
They need big plays, yeah.
And that scrub running back down at Georgia Tech that Felix is about to talk about, he returns kicks. He returns kicks.
He catches the ball. He's a slasher. He runs over linebackers who are drafted in the 2nd round. He does everything. Chris Moxley is wearing his jersey, and that's one. Jahmyr Gibbs, who's taking on Notre Dame today. Notre Dame isn't the defense that it was last year. They gave up to, again, another Chris Moxley favorite. Brian Koback had 20 for 114 against them. We know about Jahmyr Gibbs' versatile skill set. I should say the line. It's over 17 fantasy points today. Now, last year in this game, he had 14 for 61 on the ground and then 5 for 49 through the air. Notre Dame is 33rd in the country, giving up 133 yards per game, but they've given up 156 in the last 3 games. I just think that this is and I said it last week on Coast to Coast, looking forward to this game, that this is a big spot for Jahmyr Gibbs, who's recently jumped to being my number 1 running back. I think that he knows it's a big spot, and I think that he wants to perform well against Notre Dame, and I think that he will. On the ground and through the air today. And so I am taking the over on 17. He's got to get into the end zone. He's got to get into the end zone today. But I think that Jahmyr Gibbs has a big game. The other one I'm taking is the under. I'm taking an under here on Deuce Vaughn, 21.5 fantasy points against Baylor. Baylor known for its offense under Art Briles, but they've got Dave Aranda in there now, who's a defensive-minded guy that just shut down OU. Baylor is 44th in the country in total defense, 25th in rushing yards allowed. I think that this is a lower scoring game, just like last week's was. And if you are a defensive coordinator or a defensive-minded head coach, who are you keying on stopping? It's Deuce Vaughn. So I am taking the under on 21.5 fantasy points today.
And just a couple that I like here this week. Again, I had a lot the past couple of nights that I really, really liked. But today I have Charbonnet over 80 rush yards. I don't know if that line is still there. But with Britton Brown out, I think that he has a nice chance to have a big day. And then Jarian Ely over 16.5 fantasy points, had a big week there last week. He catches passes in his PPR on Prize Picks. He really only has to score a touchdown here, maybe. and he might not even have to do that depending on the passing volume. So I like that line a lot there. Receiving plays, guys. Brandon, what do you like?
Yeah, so I didn't see a ton I like, but I did pick out a few that I think could happen. So first is Jaden Hazelwood versus Iowa State. Iowa State gave up over 300 passing yards to Texas Tech last week and a lot of points. So I have the over on 11 fantasy points. He seems to be targeted by Caleb Williams in the end zone. So if he gets a touchdown, a few catches, he could definitely go over there. So I have over 11 fantasy points. I have Brock Bowers over 13.5 fantasy points for Charleston Southern. He's not been involved that much lately, but I just have a hunch that he's going to have a good game today. And then lastly, Ryan O'Keefe for UCF. His reception total is 6.5, and they play UConn, which is a good matchup. But I see them getting up early, and I believe Jalen Robinson's back, so that takes away some of his target share. So I have him under that 6.5 receptions.
All right, Chris. No repeats with Brandon. We're not in lockstep on this wide receiver plays.
Yeah, not this time. I like Jamison Williams over 5.5 receptions, and I'm actually surprised I like this one because he's been like a possession guy more so than I would have realized. He's gone over this number in 4 of the last 5 games. And I think they're going to have to throw it a little bit this week. I think Arkansas' strength is really on the line, and they're missing some pieces in their secondary. So I kind of like it. And then I also like Xavier Worthy over 4.5. I think that he's the go-to target here. He had 14 last week. I think this number is a little bit too discounted. So that's really the story. West Virginia had a really good secondary last year. This year they are struggling. That's their weakest unit.
Chris Moxley in secondaries. Go to Chris Moxley for all the secondary info.
It's Chris's favorite thing to analyze. I hear. Matt, what do you like this week?
I'm just doubling up on one player. Moxley was talking a lot about it earlier. When we talked about Chris Rodriguez, they get New Mexico State. This should be a big game for all the big name key players on Kentucky. I've got the over on Wan'Dale Robinson, 82.5 yards. Realistically, he could do that in one play. Probably takes 2 though today. And I'm also taking the over on his touchdowns, 0.5 receiving touchdown. If I'm taking the over on his 82.5 yards, I think he gets a receiving touchdown as well.
And thank you, John. We very much appreciate that and appreciate you joining us here every week.
That was directed to me.
Yeah, it was directed to me. Wan'Dale might pop up later in the show as a must start for one of us on the panel. I can't say for sure. But I mean,
I know
yes.
person, yeah.
Oh, wow. You know everything that's going on behind the scenes here. Colin, receiving plays, what do you like?
So I have 2 this week. The first one, I have Zay Flowers over 13.5 fantasy points. Like Jerkovich is back. So you got to feel a little bit better about Zay Flowers here. 13.5 is a pretty low number. He hit it last week. He had 2 touchdowns last week. So it really just takes 1 touchdown and he would be well on his way there. But I don't even think he needs that. 6 for 75 line gets that. I definitely think he could put that up here this week. And my other one, I have Treylon Burks over 4.5 receptions. I'm a little bit worried about his overall yardage total, but I think that in order to be successful against Alabama, they're going to have to get him involved. I think 4.5 receptions is a low enough number that I feel good about it. He's only had 2 games under 4 receptions there. So most of the time he's over that. He's at right around that mark. I think they're going to get him involved this week.
All right. Felix, you said you like Jahmyr Gibbs' fantasy total earlier. Part of that because of what he does as a receiver?
I mean, I think Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 49 yards receiving last year against Notre Dame. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is lined up for a big spot today. He could have his over-under on receiving yards is 32.5. He could easily have that in 1 catch. They use him vertically out of the backfield on wheel routes. They line him up on the slot. They do arrow. I mean, he is a central part of their offense. So I'm taking the over on 32.5. Again, I just think that he has a big game today. And then I'm taking Emeka Emezie, the NC State wide receiver. He had a big game. He had a big game last week, and I know I was sweating it in a playoff matchup, and he was bringing my opponent back. His over-under is 69.5 receiving yards against Syracuse. Devin Leary has been one of the best quarterbacks that no one is talking about. 29 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. I think he's like a third or fourth year sophomore. In the last 4 games, Amizi has had the 10 for 31 against Wake Forest, 2 for 7 against Florida State, 5 for 91 against Louisville, and 3 for 75 against Miami. If you haven't watched this guy, he is a big, strong, possession wide receiver who's difficult to deal with. He's also a senior, looking to go out with a bang. 69.5. He's averaged over 69.5 yards when you think about the last 4 games combined. I think Devin Leary is going to find him early and often today against Syracuse. So give me MACtion easy.
I like both of those. And then just quickly, I know I said earlier, I'm fading all the Auburn passing attack. That does include Kobe Hudson, who last time I checked, his yardage total was at 49.5. I'm taking the under on that. I am also taking the over on Zay Flowers' reception total today. I know him and Jerkovic have not quite been on the same page, although he did have, I believe, 2 catches and both were touchdowns last week. But, the volume wasn't necessarily great. I'm thinking they get it back on track this week in a softer matchup there versus Florida State. So give me the over on Zay Flowers at 4 reception. I think at minimum you can probably get a push there because 4 feels like a pretty solid number there for him. Alrighty, guys. That does it for prize picks. Let's get into the real start sits. Even though we just gave you a bunch of guys with some fantasy point lines there. Guys that we have to start. And Matt, let's come to you today first. There are some tough decisions this week. We've got some guys that are out or banged up, some of these choices are going to be very, very critical. Who do you think that you have to start if you've got them today?
So I'm taking Chandler Morris. I know he struggled last week, but Kansas is the 96th ranked pass defense here. Morris and Quentin Johnson, I expect to bounce back in a major way this week. We saw, even though they ended up losing, what Texas's offense was able to do, and I think that Chandler Morris is better than Casey Thompson. So I think him and Quentin Johnson can really go out there and have a really good job, or do a really good job here against Kansas. I'm also starting Jalen Knighton. I talked about starting him last week. It was a bad loss on that last week. He barely crossed 30 yards rushing, but not this week. He's a top 10 play against the 103rd ranked rush defense. Plus Vatek is giving up 13 rushing touchdowns on the season. And last but not least, A.T. Perry for Wake Forest. I know Clemson has still a pretty good pass defense. That's 28th currently. But I expect this to actually be a pretty good and close game. Hartman, I think, wants to get this win, and it's been a while since Wake Forest has been able to beat Clemson. I think he's going to do everything he can to win this game, and Perry's kind of been his go-to guy the past couple weeks, so I think Perry ends up having a pretty good day here and a possible upset here for Wake Forest.
Chris, you have what appears to me to be one of the odder lists that we've had for this segment this year, which is it's a good thing. But I'm just very interested to hear what you got to say, especially on a certain Colorado running back here. What do you like about Letty Brown?
Yeah, that Texas is terrible against the run. They ranked 116th in just rush yards, 115th in yards per rush attempt. They're allowing a 25.9 explosive rush rate, which means that 1 in every 4 rush attempts against them is going for 10 plus yards. That's not good for those keeping track at home. I just think he's going to explode. You're probably starting him anyway, so it's kind of cheating, I feel like.
Well, then give me a name that maybe I'm not thinking about starting, Chris. Come on now.
All right. Jarek Broussard.
There we go.
It's gross, right? You haven't really been able to start him all year, and he has not been the player that you probably drafted to be. Colorado's just been bad. Brandon Lewis is not the guy. But if you're going to start him, this is the week to do so. Washington is basically a rush funnel. Their secondary is excellent. They probably have multiple defensive backs. They've been moving players around the formation. They've actually shifted the way that they're defending their secondary. It's even better. And Broussard's their RB1 there. Washington is a bottom 10 rush defense. And I actually think this game's going to be close. So if it's going to be close, I expect Broussard to really shoulder the workload. And he's been doing that all year. He had 16 carries last week, 24 carries the week before. So I actually really like Broussard this week. I think he's a guy that you can plug in. You probably haven't had a lot of confidence around this year. So I think this is the week to play him. And then my last guy, and I stumbled across him this week when I was doing some ranking stuff, and I couldn't believe his statistics. Blake Watson out of Old Dominion. He has gone for 100 yards in every game since week 4. 168, 104, 108, 158, 163. He has been awesome this year. And they have a pretty easy matchup in FAU this week. And he's really become the focus of that Old Dominion offense. And Old Dominion's playing, honestly, better football. They rattled off 3 straight wins. So, I really like Watson this week. He's seeing 25-plus touches every single week. He had 30 weeks ago. So, he's a guy that you can plug in if you have him, or if you there we go, John Lobb. He's a guy that's really fallen under the radar with like a bunch of 100 rushing yard performances this year.
Old Dominion is just one of those teams that if you asked me to name all 130 FBS programs and my life was on the line, I'd probably get to 129 and then just couldn't remember Old Dominion and be screwed. I just never. They have Kuntz as well. Yeah, tight end there. Yeah.
Yeah, they have 2 players that you probably want to start this week in Kuntz. Yeah. So
yeah,
just saying.
I don't know why. I never think of them as an FBS program. Brandon, who are you starting this week?
Yeah, the first couple guys are ones that we've talked about in prize picks. First, Will Shipley versus Wake Forest. They give up over 200 rushing yards a game. We saw against North Carolina. Ty Chandler just ran all over them. And I think even though DJU's been playing better, they probably want to depend on the run. So I see Will Shipley hopefully getting an end zone at least once today. And then the Nets is Zay Flowers versus FSU. They give up over 240 pass yards, and he had 2 touchdowns last game, like we stated earlier. And I just think that that FSU defense isn't very good, and Jerkovich is just kind of finding his footing now. In his second, now it'll be his 3rd game back. And the last one is Jalen Reed for Michigan State. I think you can obviously pass the ball in Ohio State, and also he returns kicks and is in on a lot of the trick plays they do, a lot of flea flickers. So I could see him having some big games. And I believe Naylor is still out, so he'll be the main target for Michigan State. So I have him as a start.
Going to be an interesting matchup there versus, what is it, Burke, Matt? Which is the only thing that gives me some pause about Reed.
The one thing with Denzel Burke, he is still yet to give up a receiving touchdown. I tweeted this out the other day because who was it? David Bell ended up having a good game, but when he was on Bell last week, 11 of Bell's targets were when Burke was on him. He caught 5 of them for 35 yards. So Jaden Reed against Burke is going to be a very interesting matchup today.
Yeah, and they are very different types of receivers. Bell and Burr. So it'll be stylistically, it's not necessarily the same thing. So we'll see.
With you saying that, I don't know how many speed guys he's played, because he also shut down Dotson. He was on Dotson that entire first half and he did nothing. And then they moved him off Dotson. That's why Dotson went off in the second half when Penn State played the Buckeyes a couple weeks ago.
Well, I lost a matchup because of that, so it'd have been really cool if they had kept Burke on Dotson there.
I'll let him know. I'll see what I can do.
Yes, please call the kind people over there. I'll be forced to send a strongly worded letter. Colin, you gave us 10 starts earlier this week, but let's hear a few that you still like right before kickoff here.
So one that's a little bit more obvious is Ty Chandler. He's had at least 1 touchdown in 5 of his last 6. The only one he missed was last week. But he's had at least 2 touchdowns in 4 of his last 6. They get Wofford, who is a 1-9 FCS team. This is a bad team. Sam Howell banged up. I think they lean on Ty Chandler here. I think this is a smash spot for him. The next one I have here is Devin Neal. He went off last week. He got 4 touchdowns last week. He gets a passing game work. They're getting him more involved. TCU is a bad run defense. They give up 226.2 rush yards per game, which is 7th worst in the country. Kansas has been scrappy lately, so I think Devin Neal is going to have a big game this week. And then my last one here is a Matt Bruning special. Johnny Ford, running back for FAU. He's had back-to-back games over 140 all-purpose yards. They get Western Kentucky this week. Western Kentucky's a bad defense, but a very good offense. You have to score to try to keep up with them. And if FAU is going to score, I think Johnny Ford is going to have a big game because I don't really trust N'Kosi Perry.
You and your distrust for N'Kosi Perry, Colin. It's bordering on paranoia. That's twice you've had to comment on that now this week. Felix, who are you starting this week? This first one is a guy that's maybe let some people down. Has burned some people a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. The Georgia wide receivers, the Georgia passing game outside of Brock Bowers have been disappointing, but they're taking on a subpar opponent today. Jermaine Burton has been a Deshaun Jackson-like player for college. I think that he goes off today. I think that he might have 3 catches, but 2 of them for long touchdowns. And so, in a wide receiver or in a flex spot in these deeper campus to Canton leagues, would feel okay about starting Jermaine Burton today. And then Will Rogers. Now, you're already probably starting Will Rogers, but I just want to talk about how hot he's been lately. Last week, 415 yards passing. The week before that, 417 yards passing. 344 before that, and 384 before that. Mike Leach has got a guy who's slinging it all over the place there. He's had, I can't even count. Is it 15 touchdowns? 15 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks to just 3 interceptions. He's one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country. So fire up Will Rogers as Mississippi State continues to they're going to be playing in an important bowl game. It's probably some New Year's Day bowl game, so get used to seeing them.
And if you're thinking that Will Rogers is going to have himself another nice day, I believe his Prize Picks fantasy total is right around 25 points, which feels a little soft.
Wow.
Just
yeah.
Throwing that out there. I did remember seeing that one on the list. 2 starts here for me. 1, Shamari Jones. Reese White is out again this week, his 3rd consecutive game. They put Grayson McCall on the depth chart. That's leading people to assume that he plays. Even if he does, I still think they're going to lean a little more on Shamari Jones than maybe they usually would. I'm not quite expecting the somewhat explosive passing attack there. So give me all of Shamari Jones there in a nice matchup against Texas State. The other one is the aforementioned Wan'Dale Robinson. The Jamison Williams this past week, I think, Kentucky's going to use Wan'Dale Robinson very similarly to how Bama used him against the same New Mexico team. And Williams had 3 for 168 and 2, or 5 for 168 and 2, or something like that. That is what Wan'Dale is probably going to be able to do. I think that he is a must start and has another big game this week. Let's move over to sits, guys. Matt, 3 big names here. You might upset some folks, Matt, but that's we got to tell the truth on this show. We got to be truthful with everyone.
Isaiah Spiller. And I know this seems crazy because I'm pretty sure they're playing a school that I've actually never even heard of in Prairie something. Is it Prairie View, High on the Prairie? I'm not sure, but they're playing a school that I've never heard of. I imagine they're getting ready for that LSU game. They need another win, especially after that bad loss last weekend. Achane has been playing much better and has been coming on in a major way. I don't doubt that Spiller has a decent day, but I don't think he goes off in this one. I don't know that he has a massive game. Next up, Treylon Burks. Most of this is because of them playing Alabama. I kind of disagree with all the KJ Jefferson love that he was getting earlier. I think he may do a lot of rushing. I don't know that he passes for a bunch of touchdowns here against Alabama. I think that they're going to cause all kinds of hell for him, blitzing him, and that could end up affecting Burks. Burks maybe gets 40, 50 yards and a touchdown, but I don't know that he gets you that 17, 18, or 20-plus game that you want from him to start. And last but not least, Adrian Martinez. He's been a stud for you in your CFF leagues as a quarterback, putting up like 30-plus points every single week. But he's still banged up, dealing with a broken jaw. He's still got the sprained ankle, and now he gets a Wisconsin defense that has been very good the back half of the season. The last 6 games, they've only allowed more than 7 points twice, and I believe the highest one of those was 13 points. Martinez is not going to do much in the air, and I don't know that he's going to do that much on the ground with that sprained ankle and everything. It takes a couple big hits. I don't think that he has those big games that we've gotten out of him most of the season.
Colin tried to rip me off and sell me Adrian Martinez in a league where he is not contending, and I am, right before the playoffs started. And I said, look at that playoff schedule, Colin. You are trying to rip me off. And so far, that has proven to be true. Very, very difficult final few weeks there for him. Chris, who are you sitting this week?
I am sitting. Who am I sitting? Xavier Hutchinson. Everyone wants to play players against this Oklahoma defense as if they're the same unit they were 4 weeks ago. They've gotten all of their secondary back. Like, they were missing 4 of their top 5 secondary, like, players in the secondary. They were missing, I think, 3 of their top cornerbacks and then their top safety. Like, this is a totally different unit, and they shut down the Baylor passing offense. Not that that's, like, incredibly difficult, but their defense looked really good last last week. That was not the reason that they lost. The reason they lost was because Caleb Williams, we're getting a little over our skis with him.
Got his hand stepped on. Come on now.
He looked terrible before that. Like, let's be honest.
He looked terrible before that.
Either way, I don't trust Brock Purdy we're out of Brocktober. I don't trust him this week. I don't really want to play any of the passing options because I think this is a different secondary than people are acting like it is. Second one hurts a lot. I don't really want to play Jahmyr Gibbs this week. And I'm wearing his jersey, and it hurts really bad. Notre Dame's defense against running backs in the rushing game is really good. Like, they struggle against mobile quarterbacks, which we can have a different conversation about that with Georgia Tech this week. But let 100 to Sam Howell. They let Braxton Burmeister run all over them. Then they played triple option Navy. Like, this is not like I think there's a little bit of a discrepancy between how good their rushing defense is and how good they like actually are. He's going to have to get all this value in the passing game, and their passing defense is first in the country in terms of like defensive EPA per pass attempt. So I think it's an uphill battle for Gibbs this week. Like, I just think there are better options. And that sucks, but it is what it is. He struggled against good matchup this year.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When we're talking about a running back coming out of the backfield, would we still use defensive passing efficiency to evaluate their ability to cover the running back? I mean, I feel like that's a totally different animal.
It can be, but it depends on the running back because we know Jahmyr Gibbs operates slightly differently than like someone who we're checking it down to, right? So Notre Dame's strength is basically their back 7. And so if we think their strength is the back 7, then can we assume that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have like enough passing volume deep to handle that? Does that make sense? Like I think he's going to struggle to break out big runs. Like he might get 5 for like 15 this week, which I mean, that's like 6 points in terms of the rushing game. So if their linebackers and their secondary are good, I kind of worry about that because I think they actually rank really high in tackling as well. And Jahmyr Gibbs is shifty, but like he's beat up on some bad tackling teams recently. Either
Maybe
way,
he just makes them look bad tackling Chris.
True. I don't know. I'm just a little bit worried about Jahmyr Gibbs. Is all. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you're wearing his jersey and then just shitting all over him today. I mean, it's just
You
It's
don't
a bad
deserve to
matchup.
wear that jersey.
And then
Take
this is
it
my
on.
last one. Oh man, I'm shitting on everybody today. I'm not playing Jackson Dart this week. I just think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of risk playing him this week. I don't think UCLA is like a crazy matchup or anything, but I think there's a lot of risk in this start. Like I just think you have better options. Like you don't have to play Jackson Dart. I think it's like we want to play him because like we're really excited about him. Like it's like a pump the brakes moment. Like he looked really good against Washington State's bad secondary, but like we have not seen enough to like really confidently start him in my opinion. It's going to be a low scoring game. Like I don't think the ceiling is there.
Especially with no Drake London, who he did have the last time he played.
I don't think USC is going to win either. Like I'm projecting them under 28 points. So what's Jackson Dart's ceiling as like this is his first start? I don't know.
It's Charbonnet season, baby. Brandon, who are you sitting this week?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of echoing what Matt said about KJ Jefferson. I'm setting him the last couple of games against SEC opponents. He only has 55 rush yards, so he's not getting that rushing edge. And he has only 2 total TDs in those 2 games. And I just think Alabama's going to give him some trouble. And I don't think he's going to have that great of a game today. The Nets is Raheem Jarrett for Maryland against Michigan. I'm setting him. Michigan has a top 8 pass defense. And I think that pass rush is going to give Maryland trouble. And he has no TDs in the last 4 games and only has 13 or under in fantasy points through the last 4. And the last one is, as Matt said, Adrian Martinez. Wisconsin's only given up 17 points in the last 3 games. So, and Martinez has under 20 fantasy points 2 of the last 3. So he's also a set. And yeah, I remember I'm in the same league that Colin was trying to throw out Adrian Martinez to the contenders. So, he's a tricky guy.
Tricky guy. The stones on this kid, I tell you what.
I mean, I'm not contending. Adrian Martinez was great all year. I had other guys that I was offering up to. I was selling them cheap.
You were. Colin, who are you sitting this week?
I am sitting Isaiah Bowser this week. Look, I'm kind of out on Isaiah Bowser. He really has not done anything since week 2 against Boston College, where he had that 4 touchdown game. I mean, after that, he was banged up for a little bit, but he hasn't been the same guy since he's come back. I know this is an enticing matchup against UConn, but he's pretty much a 0 in the passing game, so he has to score multiple touchdowns. I'm kind of out on him. My next one is another guy who doesn't do a whole lot in the passing game either, BJ Baylor. He gets Arizona State this week. That's a good defense. I mean, he's strung several solid games together here, but he's been a little bit weaker down the stretch. He only had 80 yards against a very weak Stanford defense, 18 yards against Colorado. I don't trust him this week either. And then my last one here, I have the SMU wide receivers. Since he has excellent corner play, especially Sauce Gardner, Danny Gray is in a boot. We're not really sure what's going on with him. I think since he has to come out and really make a statement in this game, this is their last opportunity to really show that they deserve to be a playoff team against an SMU team that's 1 loss, 2 loss. Since he hasn't let up more than 25 points, except for last week, they've held their team to 20 or less in all but 3 games all year. I think this is going to be low scoring.
Yeah, certainly could trend that way. Felix, you're going to get flamed for what you're about to say here. I'm just going to,
Well, let's start with the facts. That's where we start with as lawyers. Isn't that right, Austin? Ohio State has only given up 79 yards on the ground in the last 3 games. They are 13th in the country, which is giving up just 3.10 yards per carry. This is not the Ohio State defense that we saw earlier in the season give up 269 yards against Oregon. So I am sitting the Heisman candidate, Kenneth Walker. I think that good coaches can key on players. I think that, I think that Ryan Day is a good coach. And I think that they will stop Kenneth Walker today. We've seen, I don't know that Michigan State's ground and pound, give it to Kenneth Walker 40 times and run through a defense. I don't think that that's going to work today. And I think that the game script could get away from Michigan State if they think that they're going to play that way and win. CJ Stroud, as much as we disrespected him earlier in this season, he has been excellent. So if you're up, 14-0, 21-3 at somewhere in the second quarter, how many times are you going to hand it to Kenneth Walker? And Ohio State has been good against the run. So I'm sitting Mr. East Lansing, Kenneth Walker. By the way, we should give credit to Matt Bruning, who one of the guys he was touting in the offseason. He touted 2 transfers. One didn't pan out. The other did, and Kenneth Walker. And he's been excellent this season. And so let me give the rare opportunity to give some credit to Matt Bruning.
All right, Matt. So he gives you props at 103.42, and he said Ryan Day was a good coach at 102.50 if you need those timestamps here.
No, because I appreciate the love, but I'm going to kind of shit on what he just said here for a second. Ryan Day doesn't coach the defense, so I agree with you. Ryan Day's a good coach, but he has no control over the defense. Ohio State has not played a decent running back since weeks 1 and 2. Was it 1 and 2? Yeah, 1 and 2 when Mohamed Ibrahim and CJ Verdell ran all over this defense. So saying they're good against running backs that are like the likes of Colin and myself and Chris Moxley, and they've slowed us down, I don't know necessarily you can put Kenneth Walker in that category. Just
speak for yourself. I was a peewee running back, Matt.
You do have the size of that plotter back at 5'8", 230. Yeah, you're built like one, so I don't doubt it.
Why are we always body shaming Colin?
Matt comes after
you,
Colin
Matt.
every time.
Thank you, Matt.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
really.
Really
sorry.
hurt myself. Really hurt my self-esteem here.
It's just because next year when he shows up to Canton, he's going to be like absolutely jacked, and then he's going to thank me. He's
That's
like,
right.
you know what,
I
Matt?
will.
Every time.
He's not
Now
gonna
look
thank you,
at
he's
voice
gonna
in the
punch
back
you in
of
the
my head.
face.
That's all right, because I'll be the pudgy one, and you can take me out. It's all right. You can punch me. I'll take it.
We have to race. We also have to race.
Okay.
We have to figure that out.
Yeah, if you two will stop chickening out, we'll absolutely do that.
You asked
We know
me
that
to
Austin's
race
coming
you
last,
in
so.
slacks.
Yeah, your bougie
boots,
shoes. I had
and a button down.
a
Dude, what did you
Hawaiian
do?
shirt, tight pants on, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
And you look darn good in them.
Oh,
I
thanks,
have
man.
I have 2 sits. We're gonna try to get this show back on track here for at least another minute. I'm sitting Tyler Goodson, who really hasn't been great here over the past few weeks. I mean, Iowa's offense as a whole just kind of struggles, which is music to Chris's ears. They did look a little better moving the ball last week with Padilla back there, but it didn't really open up the run game that much. Like Goodson still only had like 60 yards rushing. So I'm sitting Goodson, I think, this week against Illinois. There's just no ceiling there, in my opinion. And you kind of need some ceiling plays here in your semifinals, probably. The other one is Roschon Johnson, who I'm not playing today. I don't care that he's going to be the guy, presumably step into the role vacated by Bijan Robinson. I do think maybe we see a little more Keelan Robinson than people are potentially talking about there. But I just I don't want any pieces of this offense to play this week. Maybe Xavier Worthy, because he got 24 targets last week. He's just going to get the volume. But I mean, I think they're going to struggle a little bit to move the ball against West Virginia, whose defense isn't great, but they're not a sieve either, especially in the running game. So I don't feel comfortable starting Roschon Johnson in a spot where I need to win. So, I mean, I can't do it. I can't do it. If he goes off my bench, so be it.
Roschon Johnson is a quarterback. Is there someone else in that backfield who could potentially emerge in place of Bijan Robinson? I mean, I know Jaden Blue's coming next year, but for the remainder of the season, is there someone who could emerge?
They brought in another freshman this year, but he's injured, and his name is escaping me right now. But that's really, they have Keelan Robinson, who actually I do really like, but he's more of a pass catching back. He's sub 200 pounds. He was at Alabama and transferred in there. But I mean, Roschon's the only guy they got. I don't see anybody else stepping in there. So that's, you don't want to say that going into semifinal matchup. Well, Roschon Johnson's all I got. That's you don't feel good about that. All right, guys, predictions on games for the day. Do this every week. Oh, Matthew, wow, you really scrambled and got that together. Big kudos to Matt, who has done all of the graphics here for our show this week, mostly early in the morning, because people change up on him. So let's start here, guys. Michigan State at Ohio State. This one's a no-brainer for me. I'm taking the Buckeyes. Maybe not in a blowout necessarily, but I think this is a fairly comfortable. They keep it at like 10-14 for most of the game there.
My next, I have Ohio State here as well. I think it is going to be fairly close for most of the game, but Ohio State's just too explosive of an offense. And I think they're starting to get it together here on defense.
Colin getting caught sleeping. His next what? My next, I'm taking Ohio State to win this one.
Yeah, Buckeyes post a 50 burger today. They're gonna smash Michigan State.
Yeah, Ohio's going to win this one.
I'm taking the Buckeyes, but I disagree with Moxley. They're not going to destroy Michigan State.
Matt's such a self-hating Buckeye fan. It's
Really?
honestly really, really fun. Iowa State at Oklahoma, noon kickoff here today. Oklahoma bounces back. Iowa State, they're nothing special. So I think this is a comfortable Sooner win. They're going to be back on the right track here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I have Oklahoma here as well. I think Oklahoma needs to get back on track here this week. And Iowa State is not what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year.
Lincoln Riley, get Kennedy Brooks and Caleb Williams involved in the running game, and you'll be fine. I'm taking OU in this one to get back on track.
Yeah, I don't trust this Iowa State offense. Oklahoma's defense is much better than it has been in recent weeks. Boomer Sooner, baby.
Yeah, I have Oklahoma in this one. Iowa State's defense really struggled last week against Texas Tech, so I think Oklahoma's offense gets back on track this week.
I agree. Oklahoma wins, and big news: Sam Howell not playing today, on the sideline in street clothes.
A soft drink with a very long straw, as many people have been pointing out in our Discord. That seems to be the big takeaway there from that picture. SMU at Cincinnati. Guys, maybe this is wishful thinking. I'm tired of talking about Cincinnati, a team that I think was better last year than they are this year. And that's just the nature of these G5 teams, is you kind of have to be good 2 years in a row to start getting that consideration. Cincinnati hasn't. They beat Notre Dame, a team that I think is solidly overrated. Beyond that, they really haven't played well in a while. I think SMU beats them today. And Cincinnati's a little banged up on defense. They had a couple guys leave that game last week. I don't know exactly what all their statuses are, but regardless, yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati or SMU here. I think they beat Cincinnati and their playoff hopes. Sorry, Bearcats.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree there. I think it's Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati won, just the better team. Cincinnati also knows they need this game. They cannot afford to mess up all year. I think their veteran leadership is going to get them through this one. And like I said, just a better team. Give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, but SMU is a team that's emerging. They get Ulysses Bentley back, who's been injured part of the season. I think that there are too many options to stop for SMU's defense or SMU's offense, excuse me. And I think they pull off the upset, and so we can stop talking about Cincy.
I would love to see
Cincinnati.
When you don't put your picks on the sheet, you get who I decide you pick.
This is Matt's Joker backstory. This is how he went bad here. This morning show.
It really is. I like SMU to win personally. I'm tired of talking about Cincy as well, but I don't think that they do. I think the biggest mismatch in this matchup is Cincinnati's pass rush and SMU's ability to pass block. Pass blocking, 121st for SMU. Cincy's pass rush is third in the country. I don't think Tanner Mordecai is going to have the time to throw. And SMU's defense is quite poor in coverage. They're a bottom 10 unit, and they are one of the worst tackling teams in the country. It's going to be hard to tackle Jerome Ford, and assuming he's back, and Desmond Ridder. So I don't really see a path for SMU this week.
I also have Cincinnati, and I'm glad you brought up Jerome Ford. Have we heard if he's going to play today?
There's still no news. I just was looking to see.
Well, that is unfortunate, but I still have Cincinnati. I think they will, find a way to win, to keep their, playoff hopes alive, as slim as they might be.
I agree. I think it's going to be a really good game, really close, but I've got Desmond Ridder. He's going to put it on his shoulders. He's going to come up with the big win. Colin mentioned earlier, Danny Gray still in a boot. If he doesn't play, then you've got Sauce Gardner on either Rashee Rice or Reggie Roberson, which only gives them one other target. I think this defense is just a little bit better with the pass rush and everything. I think Mordecai has a decent game, but Cincinnati comes away with the big win.
You guys are underselling my guy, Dylan Goffney. Dylan Goffney, remember the name. Going to have a big day today. You heard it here first. Next game here, guys. Arkansas at Alabama, 3:30 kickoff. We got one of these midday games. Give me Bama. Arkansas, they went from extremely overrated to extremely underrated, and now they're probably somewhere in the middle. But I just think Alabama's better.
Yeah, give me Bama. Just a case of a better team here. I think Arkansas is going to be pretty overmatched.
Roll Tide! Chris Moxley.
I think that's all the analysis he had.
That's my analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bama. I don't necessarily think this game's going to end up being very close.
Agreed, Alabama.
Somehow Chris Moxley had even less analysis than I did. He just put up his gun on. So
he just said, yeah.
Oregon at Utah, guys. Our last game we're picking here for today, and then we're going to kick this over to Alfred for our second hour. Oregon at Utah, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. This is a late one. Preview of the Pac-12 championship game here, perhaps. I am going to take Utah But I think this is going to be a pretty close game. Utah's going to try to establish the run there. I think Oregon is decent against it, so it'll be very interesting to see how that chess match kind of plays out. But I do think Oregon's going to struggle to move the ball a little bit today, so it's going to be a lower scoring one. I think. Give me Utah in this first matchup between the two.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is going to be a low-scoring game here, but I like Oregon as a team just a little bit better. I like Oregon's defense. I think they're going to be able to pull this one out. Give me Oregon.
I think Utah. If Utah wins, they throw some chaos into the playoff ranking, and so that's what I'm hoping for. And so I'm taking. Don't pay attention to that O in the corner. I'm taking the Utes.
Yeah, I have Utah as well. I actually think they're a good matchup against Oregon. They're 16th in rushing success rate. Oregon ranks 74th on defense. They're 8th in line yards. Oregon ranks 46th. And then when we get to the secondary, once you get past the line of scrimmage at Oregon, they're ranked 107th in tackling. They're ranked 99th in coverage. Cameron Rising's actually been really solid. Like, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the country when he's healthy and playing. I like Utah, and I think we finally see Oregon go down because they're not as good as their record.
Give me the Ducks. Quack quack.
I'm taking Utah. Cameron Rising, Austin's guy, has been playing really good. He played, I think he was actually really good last week. 1 week, Austin said to sit him as he wasn't sure, and he came out and actually ended up playing a good game. Oregon is going down. Utah has been coming up. I think Utah gets this win fairly easily today, actually. I just think they're the overall better team, setting up for a rematch in the Pac-12 championship in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to look forward to. All right, guys. That is going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in here with us this week. Hopefully you make it through. We catch you again next week. But the day is not over. Alfred's been patiently waiting here in the background. I've also seen maybe at least one of his children walk through as well while he's been in the green room here. Alfred, how we doing today? You ready to win some people some money?
I hope so. Yeah. Last night was fairly good. I think you hit a big prize picks, a 4 for 4 or a 5 for 5 even. And yeah, my kids have been running around. I had to usher them out the door. So I actually am home alone right now. So I should be able to focus.
Oh boy.
And get some people some good picks here. I think I'm the only one. If anybody wants to stay around and just chat with me, you're more than welcome. Otherwise I can do it solo.
Go
Silence
Buckeyes.
from the crowd. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hello.
Goodbye.
That's
Goodbye.
me.
Goodbye.
All right.
Enjoy the second
Okay,
hour,
folks.
Mr. Alfred.
Yeah. See ya. All right. Well, I've done some live shows before, and I've definitely punted some people. Chris, you gonna stay for a little bit? No. Yes.
I was staying. I don't know. I got kicked
I
off.
thought you had something with the wifey.
Hey, people cancel plans, man.
Wow, what a treat. Okay, let's go. All right, well, we can do our typical rundown then. I was going to kind of change it up a little bit, but what has changed for you? I actually have a couple guys for DraftKings that I don't know. We didn't really talk about them on Thursday, but I think there's some good plays. What's changed for you? Anything?
Not really. I actually think I hit a lot of the guys that I really like. I'm paying close attention to the Armstrong news because I think that's going to affect how I play the Pitt players because I want to play Pickett, but if he's not playing, I probably won't.
Then maybe just do more Abanikanda.
Yeah, that's the question. Like which path I'm going to take. Because I want to play Pitt players. I just don't know which assuming Armstrong's out.
Yeah, because Armstrong there or not there, that defense is still god awful. So
yeah, for sure. And that injury is pretty big this week for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that came to my attention, we didn't really talk about it at all on the show, but sometimes we're doing that without we just got the information of the slate. Texas Texas passing game is probably undervalued, especially Casey Thompson coming in at 6,800 against that West Virginia pass defense, which is bottom third in the country, ranked in the 100th EPA per pass attempt, and really poor pass defense at West Virginia. And, Texas stinks, but really what stinks is their defense. I mean, their offense has been pretty good. I don't think their offense is terrible. And Casey Thompson can certainly drop 30 points, and he's only 6,800. I think that's a nice play. There's a lot of cheap quarterbacks today, so I'm probably not paying up too much for the Strouds of the world.
No, I actually found myself paying up for wide receivers this week when I was constructing lineups.
Yep. I mean, Dotson is almost like Josh Downs used to be, where you kind of have to play Dotson. I mean, he's just getting 13, 14, 15 targets a game. They cannot run the ball whatsoever. I think they've pretty much given up trying. So it's a high volume passing attack. And Dotson feels almost hard to, he's expensive, but hard to fade.
Yeah. And I love David Bell this week too.
Yeah. I like Bell. I mean, Bell and O'Connell. And we talked about Horvath. The question is, do you think Horvath gets more work? I mean, he's better than King Doru. He was their bell cow workhorse last year and then missed time with an injury. And I wonder if they just eased him in last week, because if he gets 15 touches against that Northwestern defense, I mean, I want Horvath.
Yeah, I have a lot for Horvath. Like the same conversation that we were having last week, right? Like I think they just earlier this week. I just think they were easing him in like a little bit more difficult matchup. And so I think this is the week where they let him loose against one of the worst rushing defenses in the country in Northwestern.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think they run.
All he needs
is run 30 times.
I mean, all he needs is 10 touches, really. But if he gets 15, and he's probably their goal line guy, so if they do get near the end zone, I bet they give it to him. So
yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's like Mike Allstott. Also,
he really is a fullback, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially a fullback. Another guy we didn't talk about, again, sticking to the Texas theme, is Roschon Johnson for 3,800. Bijan's out. The Brooks, I think there's another guy. Brooks is out. They only pretty much have Roschon Johnson and Keelan Thompson, who's coming off, I think, COVID or something. And that guy's like not a workhorse. And so I think Roschon Johnson gets 15 to 20 touches today.
Yeah. Keelan Robinson's the passing down back.
Mm-hmm. But Roschon Johnson can catch passes too. So, I mean, he's 3,800 and you're probably going to get 15 touches at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to. I'd rather play Xander Horvath because I think Roschon Johnson will be popular. And
why not
both?
Roschon Johnson. Play them both. And then just do like a Stroud, Stroud, Olave, Wilson three-way stack. Like that could be a winner, that a lot of people probably won't pay up for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's a strategic fade for me. Actually, a guy that we didn't bring up much that I did want to touch on is Kevon Lee, the running back at Penn State.
Okay.
Rutgers' rush defense is like pretty good. Like they've shut down Michigan when they played them. They limited TreVeyon Henderson as much as you can limit TreVeyon Henderson. I mean, they're 17.5 point favorites currently. I kind of like Kevon Lee. He's only 3,600. That's really cheap for a guy who probably is going to get 15 to 20 touches. How
much? 37?
36. So
yeah.
I like him.
There's a lot of cheap guys. So if there's a lot of cheap guys that we both like, the strategy becomes, where are we paying up? And you said wide receiver. Yeah. So Dotson.
David Bell.
What about Jameson Williams?
Yeah, I think he can play Jameson Williams.
He's been lights out. I mean, he's been so good.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the Ohio State? I mean, much has been made about how bad the Michigan State, pass defense is. So where are you going? Are you playing any Ohio State players? I mean, is JSN as the most expensive guy a little nutty?
I'm playing Olave. I think, this week.
I mean,
Because
all
he's the
year long,
cheapest.
we basically picked the
Yeah.
cheapest guy.
Yeah, pretty much. You just play the cheapest guy. And I actually think he's going to be the lowest rostered guy, too. Because JSN's just been so good recently, and Garrett Wilson is really the alpha there. So I think I prefer Olave of all those guys. And JSN is actually performing like a little bit above expectations still. Like he's just been super efficient. And I think that at some point there could be a game where he isn't as good as we think he's going to be, because he's just like breaking off long runs basically after the catch a lot of the time. And I don't know how. I mean, he's really good, so like it's sustainable somewhat, but I don't want to pay up for him if he's gonna be the highest rostered guy and the most expensive guy, at least this week. I just think there's value elsewhere.
So for back to Kevon Lee, we're kind of jumping around today. Has he, like, is Kane injured, or has he just totally jumped him?
I think he just jumped Kane.
Yeah.
Like, not that Kevon Lee has been like lights out or anything.
He's definitely not been lights out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that he has been, but I mean, he did get 20 carries last week, and I think he had at least a couple targets. He only had one catch, but he had a couple targets.
He catches a few passes for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, he's only 30. The thing is with him is like he's so cheap.
Yeah,
that like you don't need a big game, and it's a good matchup, good enough matchup.
Between Lee, Horvath, and Roshan Johnson, I mean, you could have 3 running backs where you expect 15 to 20 touches for all under 4K. That's pretty, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know you don't like Roshan Johnson, but the fact is he's going to get the touches. I'm, almost certain of that. So
I think it's going to be a 60-40 split
between him and the other guy, Keelan Robinson. Okay. Well, let's see. So that's the DraftKings updates. We are looking for injury news, of course. What about prize picks? Have you put in anything today? I was looking at it this morning. If you aren't aware of prize picks yet, then you haven't been watching our show, I guess. But welcome in if you're the first time. So prize picks is a little app, and you can make a play on whether or not you think a certain player is going to go over or under fantasy points, over or under a set line for receiving yards, rushing yards, passing yards, etc. They have a lot of different stats that you can choose. And if you are joining for the first time, you can put in C2C as the promo code, and you will get a year subscription of our premium content on our website, which includes Chris's Saturday full-on run-through for the DFS slates, among many other things, and some of our wager picks, tools that we have on the site for kind of more long-term fantasy data mining and things like that. But some of these games that we've talked about, I like a lot of the Texas players over their assigned numbers. I like some of the Iowa State overs. Charlie Kohler is fairly low in terms of his, fantasy points. And one thing I like about fantasy points, over-unders, is picking guys that can do it multiple ways. So running backs that can catch a few passes, and that chips down at your total. So you're like, okay, if his total is 15, he catches 4 passes. Now he only has to get 11 yards and touchdowns. I think there's some hidden value there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I feel like this has kind of been a weak prize pick slate compared to where we've been the last couple of weeks. I mean, I actually, with the news that Jalen Naylor is not playing today officially, I like Jaden Reed. Yeah. I mean, he does have a tough matchup. In terms of he's playing, I think he's lining up against Wade. I don't know. I don't even remember. I have way too many things going on. He's in the top corner, and he's a good player.
A couple that stood out to me, and we've talked about these guys on the show already, but Israel Abanaconda for Pitt, his over under fantasy points is 12. And so he catches 3 passes, now he just has to get 90 total yards rushing and receiving. Or, I mean, if he gets in the end zone, I don't see how he doesn't hit 12. So I feel like that is pretty good. Desmond Ritter's passing yards is over 249 against this SMU pass defense. Now, I know Ritter has not been lighting it up, but like this particularly feels like a good matchup to go over 250. Casey Thompson over 21 against this West Virginia pass defense that is really bad. Plus, he chips in on the ground. If he runs in a touchdown, I think 21 is almost a lock. And Letty Brown over 21. We love Letty Brown this week. He catches passes again. It's 1 point, PPR. So if he catches 3 passes, now he just has to get 18. So that's 100 yards or 120 yards and 2 touchdowns if he catches 3 passes. Doesn't feel that crazy against a horrible Texas defense. So those are the ones that I particularly like. Abanaconda feels almost like free money. I actually might do an Abanaconda and Jaden Reed combo right now while we're talking about it because, that just feels so low. Jaden Reed's fantasy score is 17. So you got to feel like he's going to catch 6 to 8 passes. I mean, with no Naylor?
Yeah, probably so.
So the question is, what's your best number? 17 fantasy points. You can also do receiving yards with 72. That feels actually really good.
I might do that.
Receptions is 4.
Yeah, they could move him around the formation a little bit and probably get him a couple. So
I mean,
don't think
4 with no Naylor feels virtually impossible not to get to. 4 receptions.
He just has a tough matchup.
But that yards, and he doesn't have to score. He just has to catch 4 screens.
Yeah.
Or 5. I guess you'd need 5 screens. That feels really good, actually. So yeah, I'd pick guys. One strategy I do is I pick guys that I think have a good matchup or something, and then I kind of look to see what number is the best. I mean, to me, the easiest thing to hit is 4 receptions because it's kind of a weird line. It's essentially his projected line, according to Prize Picks, is 4 for 72 and a touchdown because his line is 4 receptions, 72 yards, and 17 fantasy points. So if he goes 4 for 72, that leaves 6 more points needed. So they're assuming a touchdown kind of. The best number of all of those 3 items to me is 4 receptions. I mean, I think he'll get more than 4. I haven't even looked at his history, but I know without Naylor, I feel like 5 receptions is probably real easy. And he can go 5 for 28. It doesn't have to be, you don't need the yards. So I look for the best number on a guy that I like. That's kind of how I play. So,
yeah, no, that makes sense.
So let's see. What do we also like to do just general bets. We've been giving out bets on the 3 and Out show. Anything has come to your mind if you've been doing any more research over the week or anything like that, or?
Yeah, I made a couple
plays different than the ones you did for.
Yeah. So I have a few. Michigan State over 12.5 first half points is one that I really like. I think Michigan State can score. You're asking for a touchdown and 2 field goals or 2 touchdowns in the first half, and I think that's pretty doable. The total here is 69.5. I expect Michigan to be able to.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
It's
under 13.
12.5 first half points for Michigan State.
Yeah. Under 13 is a really, I think, a good value. So I did that yesterday. I also played Purdue over 29 team total for the entirety of the game.
I mean, Northwestern can't stop anything.
Yeah. So I think, again, you're below 30. And so 30 is that's 2 field goals.
Kind of a key number. Yeah.
Or 3 field goals.
Honestly, how Purdue doesn't score 4 touchdowns and then you're just talking about getting a field goal.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm paying close attention to Virginia Pitt because if Brandon Armstrong doesn't play,
yeah,
and so the market I don't think thinks he's going to play because it's trended upwards. It's like 15.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was under the impression that he was going to play all week. Like it sounded kind of positive. So if Armstrong doesn't play, I think the move is the Pitt team total or the Virginia team total under. Played that last week. They only scored 3 against Notre Dame.
I mean, their backup is, I don't even know who it is.
He's bad. So it's 15.5 right now. I took Pitt minus 11.5 when it opened, but I don't think you can take them yet without knowing what the Armstrong news is like. And if Armstrong is out, and I still think you can take them, but it'll adjust. So whatever. I don't care. I'll still take it. And then I had another one I like this morning. I'm trying to find it. I took the Oregon State money line against Arizona State. I actually just think they're the better team. They're playing up in Corvallis this weekend, and the weather's not supposed to be great. So these Arizona boys heading up north. I'm telling you,
I've been loving. I have been loving playing Oregon State a lot this year. They've just been, better than everyone thought they would be.
Yeah, I think they're a pretty good matchup against Arizona State too. Arizona State's kind of floundering.
They've really been unimpressive as the season's kind of come to a close here.
Yeah. I think Florida State's going to win. So I had the Florida State money line. I got it at 3.5 when it opened. So I don't really want it under a field goal. But I mean, I think the way to play it now is the money line if you want to. I'm still on Western Kentucky. Like, I still think they're going to crush Florida Atlantic. So, if you can get them at 10, I think it's gotten up though. It was 9.5 earlier in the week, and that was probably the time to play it.
FAU is they're not very good. I think Western Kentucky. What is the lines like 10 though? It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, I think it's 10.5. I don't see anything better currently. The time to play was earlier in the week. I still think you could play under in this Illinois-Iowa game. 38.5. That's just a tough sell to figure out how we're going to get there.
I totally agree. I don't see how you get there.
I honestly think there's a plus 13 out there right now. I don't think that's crazy either.
Illinois plus 13?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Iowa's even got this backup quarterback who, stinks. So.
Oh, I think he's better than Spencer Petras. I like Alex Padilla.
Well, anybody's better than Petras. But Padilla's only completed like 50% of his passes. His yards per attempt is lower. I know he's cutting his teeth in real time, but he's definitely not amazing. Yeah. I'll tell you some that I came in on. I'm just kind of infatuated with this Texas game, to be totally honest with you. And I guess the question is Sark going to rally the troops, circle the wagons, et cetera, go on the road and not turn in a total donkey turd in West Virginia, which of course they will burn on top of their couches should they win the game. But I kind of think I like all Texas here. I like Texas in DFS. I like Texas players in prize picks. I like Texas maybe to win this game outright, and you're getting plus money on the money line. I also like the over. The over feels a little light to me. West Virginia is going to move the ball in Texas. Everybody moves the ball in Texas. I think it could just go back and forth all day. And, Texas gets back Jordan Whittington. So he's a big member of their passing offense. And, I think people are discounting it because Bijan Robinson's not there, and Bijan Robinson's incredible, but I think that it doesn't matter against West Virginia. They're probably going to be able to throw all over them. So maybe I'm way off. I've become a little infatuated with that whole game. I think there's just value on Texas, a lot of value on Texas.
Man, that's scary. Like, I just think Texas might be done.
Yeah, they could lay a total turd. That's very possible. I'm not saying it's not possible for sure.
I
hope everyone thinks like you, and then maybe I get unpopular Texas and they go off. That would be nice.
That's not a bad point.
I also like I think I put this on the show, but I still like USF at Tulane. I mean, Tulane just, I think that, talk about a team that's just done. I think USF, if anything, is kind of like a little bit improving throughout the season, and I think Tulane has become total worthless. I like the under there. I mean, these are both bad teams, bad defenses and bad offenses, but I just kind of like the under. 60 feels a touch high. And shout out, I've been following a kind of account I came across called Stats O War on Twitter. If you don't follow it, he's got a lot of free, really awesome EPA charts for every single game, every single weekend, and he just puts them out on Twitter, comparing EPA per play, passing, defense, the matchup, the whole thing. And he thought that game comes out to like 19-21 final, which is 40 points, and the over under 60. So I kind of just was kind of going off that, honestly, with him and his numbers. So that was one I liked. And yeah, Texas, I already mentioned. Rutgers, Penn State under. I mean, that's another one like Illinois, Iowa. How are you going to get to 46 total points? Like, is Rutgers going to even score 10?
Yeah, I was muted. I don't know. Probably not. What's Rutgers' team total currently?
Well, it's implied.
Like 15 implied, right?
Something like that. I mean, I don't see how they get to 18. They're so bad. Penn State's, I mean, unless Penn State's just given up, I don't know if they're mailing it in or something, but, they still have a very quality defense. I don't see how Rutgers does a whole lot of anything. If they even want to have a chance at even a remotely close game, I think they, somehow put up a decent defensive effort and keep it low scoring. I mean, real low, like 17-13 kind of crap.
Yeah, probably. I just think they're gonna be able to score a little bit. I don't really think Rutgers is.
They'll score. I guess the concern would be Penn State scores 42 and Rutgers scores 10 or something like that.
I think Rutgers could cover this week, kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, cover a low scoring game though, or cover a high scoring game.
The idea would be that it's probably lower scoring than 47.
I don't see how they cover if Penn State puts up 30.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate betting on Rutgers because.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun. It's definitely not fun.
Like, they're one of the teams that turnover luck really matters for them, and so sometimes it's with them, sometimes it isn't.
Right, and if it's with them, they could. So I had a lot of talk this week on Clemson and Wake Forest. Where did you land on this? We haven't really talked about it for DFS. I don't think it's a real DFS game.
The total's high.
But it's a very public game. I mean, people want to bet this game. People are going to be watching this game. And I think the under is the move, actually. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. I don't actually have a play on this game because I think this game is one where it's kind of hard to predict. I think we were actually texting about it yesterday. Respected money is coming in on Clemson.
Yeah, I think sharps are on Clemson, and the line keeps going towards Wake Forest, even though a lot of the public money's on Wake Forest.
Yes, and so it's 3.5 right now. I think you can play that, but I'm not. I just don't trust Clemson. That's like, I just don't want to play that game at all.
Wow, this is interesting. Came across the injury and starter updates here. Clemson starters announced are Dakari Collins, Will Swinney, and Bo Collins for Clemson. There may be some value there against the Wake Forest defense. I mean, Bo Collins is 4,500. Dakari Collins is 3,500.
Yeah, he's the play.
And of course,
Shipley.
Will Swinney is 3K bare minimum.
Will Swinney.
I do think Shipley could be a play too. I mean, how much is Shipley?
I have Shipley. It's like 6,700, but I think he's going to be.
67's a little much, but I mean, I guess he could easily go for like 20 touches and 100 yards.
Yeah, I like him.
He had 34 DraftKings points against FSU.
Yeah, I'm playing him. God, Will Swinney. You're telling me Will Swinney? Clemson doesn't have a better wide receiver that's healthy than Will Swinney.
Well, they're playing two freshmen, Dakari Collins and Bo Collins. Dakari Collins for 3,500 just put up. I mean, granted, it was UConn, but he put up 6 for 97.
Yeah, no, he's interesting. It's it's really bad defense. So
yeah, Wake Forest. I mean, is DJU a super cheap play? 5,900. I'd rather go. I mean, okay, back to DraftKings. Jerkovic. I mean, how do you not have 100% Jerkovic?
Everyone's gonna have 100% Jerkovic. That's how you don't have it.
I mean, in a tournament, I guess, but like, he's just so cheap. Like, I don't see the benefit of. I guess you're just hoping maybe he goes like sub 10 points.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You basically you need to score not below 20. That's what you need. You need him to score less than 20.
Yeah,
because even if he's paying off at that price, he can't be a tournament winning play. Is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think he could be though. I mean, like you said, you don't have to be different everywhere. You just have to be different in an important spot.
Yeah.
Do you like Haskins? What's Maryland's run defense like? Can you remind me? Corum, although that's a 3:30 game,
like
apparently Corum might play.
Oh, Corum! I saw Corum. I was under the assumption that he wasn't playing, but I haven't seen anything.
It's apparently questionable, and we won't know till 3:30, so that makes that a little bit tough.
Their rush defense is not great. It's
I would assume it's not. I mean, Maryland just kind of stinks all around.
Yeah. Any interest in Slade Bolden this week?
Never.
He's getting snaps at running back.
Is he really?
Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah, 3,400. I mean, what's his like? I feel like he. I mean, the guy hasn't in 5 weeks. He hasn't even scored 5 points. Like, I don't know what we're hoping for.
You're hoping that he gets some running back. It's just, I'm not playing him either. I just saw that, and
that's funny. No, I'm not interested.
Both Christian Beal-Smith and Justice Ellison.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. I think it just means Clemson.
Yeah, I wasn't playing them anyway. It's a bad matchup.
You can't play. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can realistically play anyone against the Clemson defense, man. That's just.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. I don't think there were any other bets. I think that kind of covers that. So then
I have one more that I want to bring up.
Please tell me.
Can I find it real quick? Texas A&M first half spread. What is it?
I do not know.
But they're playing Prairie View.
Oh my gosh. I don't mess with those kinds of games, but
hold on, let me find it. First half is 25.5 team total. Can I get a first half team total? Probably not. They're probably not posting that.
Yeah, that just feels wild.
I'm looking at 25.5. We think Texas A&M could score 4 touchdowns and limit Prairie View.
I mean, I don't know anything about Prairie View. I imagine they're horrific. Like, they're probably not even a good, FCS team.
Prairie View A&M. It looks like a really small town. First of all, the population is only 6,600.
That's our analysis. It's a small town.
Yeah, and they're 7-2 though.
I mean, maybe if they're a decent FCS team, I mean, I could see Texas A&M laying a bit of an egg.
I have no idea if they're any good, but
I
wanted to find a first half team total, but I don't think any book has it. So there we go.
Womp.
Oh, they're part of the SWAC.
Yeah, I'm not up to date on my SWAC depth charts, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, they're 7-2. It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, they could be a good FCS team. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But If I could have gotten a first half team total, I would have played it. But alas, I don't think any book has it because why would you have it? I'm also I talked about this earlier this week. I'm also on Nebraska under 16.5.
Yeah, I know you like that one.
I don't know. Do we think Nebraska can score 17 points against Wisconsin? I think they can. Do I think they will? I don't know.
I don't know if they can. I mean, can anybody?
They haven't recently. Wisconsin is like I talked about this earlier this week. But Wisconsin's defense is quietly like maybe not even quietly, like it's really, really good. Like really, really good. It's not as good as Georgia, but it's definitely second in the country.
Well, and you mentioned on Why Wait Till Sunday that you think that, and I agree with you, if it wasn't for Georgia being as ridiculously good as they are, we would be talking about how like Wisconsin as a all-time type defense.
Yeah. So Wisconsin has only let 2 teams score more than that in 10 games this year. It's gone under 16 in every other one. And Michigan was the one who scored, and Notre Dame was the one who scored. But Notre Dame had a bunch of defensive touchdowns, so they actually only let 20 offensive scores. So we're talking about we talked about a lot about this on Wednesday. I just think that this is like it's kind of gross, to be honest, but I still like it.
Okay, this could potentially be big news. Apparently, Sean Clifford is like not working out with the team or pre.
Okay. So it got pulled off a lot of books this morning.
So that means I got to get rid of all my Dotson. I mean, I don't want Dotson with whoever is going to be taking snaps.
No wonder it got pulled off books. They must have knew it.
So we're gonna have to do some real time stuff here, folks. You can't play. I don't think you can play any Penn State, and that under looks even better now. I don't know. I guess
it's not on any books currently.
It's not even at books.
No, it's been off all morning, and I wasn't able to figure out why.
Well, that makes sense. Then he's probably not playing, so that means we got to figure out some alternate things here. Oh, geez, I don't really know who. There's not an easy flip for Dotson because you paid. I mean, if you went for Dotson, you paid all of the monies.
Yeah. I'm looking right now. 8,400. I mean, you could go to JSN. I don't think that's a bad play.
Do we think Braylon Allen is a play here?
Yeah, I just think he's to be really popular.
Yeah, and I mean, Nebraska's defense is good. I mean, I don't know if they're elite, but they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting all of a sudden. I mean, I'm trying to think of I got to get rid of all my Dotson though, folks. So just bear with me. Chris, if you just want to chat, I don't know how much Dotson you have, but I can't play any Dotson now.
I don't have as much Dotson. He was just too expensive this week.
Carry us to the finish line here while I figure something out.
Yeah. I'm just strolling for news currently to see if there's anything else I'm missing.
Yeah, I can't see anything. Ra Thomas from Michigan State, but I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah. Obviously Sam Howell isn't playing, so if you have Sam Howell, you probably want to take him out of your lineup.
Is it going to be Jacoby Criswell, or are we going to see Drake May?
I bet we see both today.
That would be actually. I'd love to see some Drake May.
Me too. I love Drake May. I don't know. I don't know who is going to be the starter. I'm expecting it to be Criswell because he came in when Howell got hurt. But I bet both play today.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. It would be cool to see Drake May. So that's a game that I'm going to probably have on a little bit. If it should be available here. I'm like 20 minutes from Chapel Hill.
Oh yeah.
So it will be I will be paying attention to that if we do actually see him come in, which would be exciting.
He has not played at all, right?
I think he's maybe taken the snap or two, like here and there. I don't know if he's played it all. Criswell's been the guy coming in behind him.
Yeah, I know. Which I kind of liked Criswell. I mean, talking about more C2C stuff, but I kind of liked Criswell coming out. He's an interesting, dual threat guy. And when is the Pittsburgh Virginia game? Is that late?
3 or 3:30.
Oh man, so we won't know about Pickett and Armstrong till later.
Yeah, there's a good chunk of games at that time though. So I mean, you can always mess around with that. What else? I don't see any other big injury news.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot going on.
The Clifford one is big because I hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah, but apparently, I mean, it's obviously a thing. I don't think a lot of us were thinking of it. I had not heard anything, but that's a big deal. All my lineups are going to be all messed up now. I might just.
I got one. Boston College is missing their starting nickel safety and starting defensive end. Josh DeBerry is the nickel safety. That's a big loss. Nickel corner, sorry. That's a big loss for that team. I have the Florida State money line already, and that makes me feel more confident in it. I think I really like that. And they're missing their starting right guard too. So they have a couple injuries today that I think are going to matter. I already liked FSU, and I think I won't double down, but if you haven't played that, I think that you can.
I might get me a little Bryce Young actually now that since I can't get Jahan Dotson, I might mess around and try to get some Bryce Young in there. Let's see. I think I've got them all now. Let me get one more out. Well, it's always fun here coming down to the end of the wire right before kickoff.
Yeah.
There's no more info though.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Okay. Does that make your play on Kevon Lee a little more appealing, you think?
I think so.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, they just might try to feed him 30 times and see what happens.
I don't think that's a bad option considering they probably don't want to be throwing a whole bunch.
No, I mean, they're not going to throw it all.
So it'll be interesting to see how highly rostered Dotson ends up given the late news.
Right, because I mean, yeah, you and me were both pretty interested in him.
Yeah, I just don't think you can play him.
No way, not a chance. I mean, it looks like they were even saying in the update, it was Christian Veliu and Mason Stahl working with the offense, so that wasn't even like the backup. It's not those guys. So I don't even know the guy that was playing earlier in the year when Clifford was out is not even one of the ones warming up. So you're talking about a true freshman who's never played before. That under feels excellent, by the way, but I'm trying to figure out who these guys are. Mason Stahl is a dual threat quarterback, true freshman.
Velu played earlier this year and he's bad.
Stahl it looks like he was 2020 maybe. He's either a true freshman or redshirt freshman, and it doesn't look like he was even a ranked prospect on 24/7.
Well, there we go. Can't be worse than Roberson. Thanks, Austin, in the background. Yeah. If you can get it under, go for it. I don't think it's on any books right now.
And then this other dude, Veliu, he was a 3-star prospect. He's a true freshman. I don't know anything about it. I mean, 24/7 said pocket passer, some mobility. Who knows? I mean, who that you can't put any wager in any way, shape, and form on those two guys. So that pretty much does it for us, I think. 3-star Canadian kid.
Oh,
Austin chiming in, producer Austin. So I guess Villiers, yeah, it sounds like a Canadian, maybe a French Canadian, but I'm not putting anything on for that guy or the other guy, Mason Stahl. So that does it for us. Get your Dotson out. If you were playing Clifford, get him out. Otherwise, I think there's no big new news. Hopefully I'm playing some Clifford in some playoff games and the guy didn't see the info or something.
Yeah, no. Oh, shit. Okay, this is big news, real quick. George Pickens is in uniform and warming up.
Whoa. I don't know if that's big for today, but that's big for Georgia in general.
Yeah.
Wow. Was he coming off an ACL in preseason?
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
In spring? I guess it was spring.
Yeah. I don't
How many months out are we? Are we like 8 months out? Is that normal?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, they're making so much progress in these ACL tears that
would be a huge deal, man, for Georgia. I mean, heading into the championship game and the playoff to get a guy like Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, this matters a lot for his draft.
Although, does it matter if it's Stetson Bennett's your quarterback? I don't know if you're going to change anything.
Why does everybody hate Stetson Bennett?
I know you're the biggest Stetson Bennett stan in the world.
He's just not that. Are we sure he's better?
Fine.
Than JT Daniels? Because I'm not.
No, JT Daniels may be terrible. I mean, I think it's pretty clear JT Daniels is not special.
Yeah.
I just don't think Bennett's the guy who challenges a one-on-one Pickens down the field that you want. That's what Pickens is good for. I mean, Pickens isn't a catch it and run in the short field kind of guy as much. He's a guy you want to challenge downfield with. Maybe it opens up more underneath because defense are going to have to respect him if he plays. But all right, well, it's 11:58, folks. I mean, if there's anything coming down the wire here, you're not going to get it in time. So I guess that's it.
Yep. That's all I got.